everybody,
Hello.
and welcome to Mary Elizabeth Jones's Friday Hour.
Let's do it. Let's do it. It's good to be here on a rainy day.
Yeah, gloomy day, but otherwise, we're having fun, right? So,
Well, I just got here. I'm not having any fun in this rain.
yeah, me neither.
Everything's wet.
Yeah.
Ah, it's wet. Ah, this is wet. This is wet. My hair is wet. My seat is wet. Let me tell you about if you like. Did you ever like put on your pants like over your a wet bathing suit, like if you're at the beach or something?
Yeah.
The whole rest of the day you have diaper butt. And speaking of diaper butt, no. My name is Kaye Lazar. Thanks for having me again on your show.
Yeah.
Yes. So I have a wonderful necktie.
That's a beautiful tie.
Yeah, I know. It's would have been good at Carnival.
Yeah, Keeks Abunya has it every summer.
Yeah.
I worked at the first one, the very first one that came out,
Yeah.
and it was pretty fun.
Oh, so there's a parade every day.
Yeah, yeah.
And people with batons and
Yeah.
and toucans and one of
Right.
the things is all the stuff from Brazil.
Yeah.
And the food was so good.
Oh yeah, I've had the food. It's really good.
I don't know what do they eat in Brazil. A lot of meat, I think.
Yeah.
That meat that's on the skewer.
Oh yeah,
that they cut it off.
Oh, it's kebabs.
Kebabs,
Shish
yeah.
kebabs or whatever they're called.
Yeah, but that is now because of that crazy movie Bridesmaids.
Yeah.
People don't want to eat Brazilian food anymore. But anyway, I've so I understand, Mary, that you were in a show last week.
Yes, yes. It was called The Dragon Slayers.
Yes.
We've been working on that show for months, since like December. And then we finally got to perform it last weekend, which was, really cool. So,
I saw the show.
yes,
and
he
it
came
was-
to it, and
There's only one showing of it.
yeah,
All that work and then just one.
yeah.
But the songs were so good and the singing and your performance were so good. You had a few parts in it, didn't you?
Yes.
What you
I played
tell us about?
I played a goblin,
Yeah.
and I played a royal guard.
Okay.
So I played about 2 parts.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember it had a good opening number in a cauldron, Four Witches,
Yeah.
which bested
Yeah.
I think Macbeth's witches
Yeah, yeah.
by one.
Yeah.
And you sang this jazzy type of tune.
I'm
And
making a dragon. I'm making a dragon with teeth in his breast. Ah.
yeah, and it opens with that.
Yeah.
And for some reason, witches around a cauldron acting jazzy is one of the coolest things ever. That's
Yeah.
my favorite part of Macbeth. Were
Yeah.
those witches.
Yeah.
Bubble, bubble, toil and trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something wicked this way comes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember. So this show was. So you have any other shows in the pipeline?
Yeah. I'm going to audition for a show called The Mouse Tailor's Tale,
Okay.
and it's going to be a cute show.
Same theater group and everything.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I am going to be in a show. I auditioned to be the star of it. It's called Little Women.
Yeah. We've done that. I've done Little Women before.
Yeah, I wanted to
So.
be the star of that play, and then the director said, "Have you checked the title of this show? There's hardly any men in this show." And so I.
Yeah, I couldn't do that show because I'm going out of town with Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let me tell you about this show, is that I get to play Mr. March, who's the
Okay.
father.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like the Wizard of Oz. I played the Wizard of Oz in a few shows. And they keep talking about the character the whole play, and then he shows up. and that's the best type of part
So
you could get.
You probably could
They
kinda
keep
show up.
everyone is waiting for you to show up, and then you
Yeah.
show up, and then it's so cool.
So you just kind of show up at the end.
And you show up at the end, and
Yeah.
everyone's, oh, it's Kaye Lazar.
Yeah. Well,
I shouldn't have looked at the program, and it's like a surprise ending. Kaye Lazar shows up.
but I want to come see you though. So.
That's good. There,
Yeah.
I never miss a show.
Yeah.
I, I, one guy once told me, I missed your show the last week. I said, good, thank you. Wasn't a good show.
Yeah.
No. Now, let's see. I was just thinking about, have you seen the price of gas lately?
Yes.
It's the most expensive I've ever
I
seen it.
know. I know. It's.
You, I'm trying to figure out ways to save money, like carpooling, driving people around,
Yeah.
charging admission for my car. Here, I have some peanuts and popcorn and all the water you can drink. You
Yeah.
get it right out of my faucet. As long as you like it hot. No, anyway, I'm trying to, and the price is going down a little bit. But you know what's weird about when the price of gas goes up?
Yeah.
You there's really no way to get it back down.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember
Right.
the energy crisis of the
Yeah.
1970s, and let me tell you how that worked. We were led to believe, there is some credence to this,
Right.
that there's a
Right.
finite amount of gas or oil or fossil fuel in the
Yeah.
earth, and once we use it all, it'll be all gone.
Yeah.
Now, that is true, but what nobody knows is how much is in there, and there's probably a lot more than you think. Probably, but that was what we were led to believe in the 1970s,
Yeah.
and we had to ration gas on our license plate. If you had an odd number or an even number at the end
Mhm.
of your license plate, and it was an odd or even number day, you couldn't get
Right.
gas. There would be a long line.
Yeah.
The joke was, why are you getting in the long line on your day? Because by the time I get to the front of the line to get
Yeah.
gas, it'll be the next day.
Right. Yeah.
But what happened was, so then we got gas, and then things were fine. But then I realized that it was like the oil companies,
Yeah.
uh, and the countries,
Yeah.
OPEC,
Right.
Middle Eastern countries like Saudi Arabia,
Yeah.
places like Venezuela, Iran at the time. We had the Shah of Iran, Iraq,
Yeah.
countries we were actually friendly with at one time. They put a stranglehold. Think of it as water in a garden hose, but don't drink that water off the garden hose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Comes an age at time, but think of it as oil instead of water.
Mhm.
And they put a crimp in it,
Uh-huh. Wow.
and they told everybody, and then once people stopped buying it, they let it out again. But they realized that people will pay any price for gas. So now that it's like $5, $6, $7 a gallon, let's see how far they'll go buying it. Now it gets to a point, and every person has their limit, that they will uh, that I'm not going to spend this much on gas anymore. So I'm only going to go to work with this gas, or I'm only going to go, to visit my grandmother on this gas. I'm not
Yeah.
going to just
Yeah.
drive around town all the time. And then if enough people do that, then the price goes down. Price of gas is weird. It just goes up and down, up and down. It's a daily
Right.
reminder, no matter where you are in the world,
Mhm.
looking at the signs on the
Yeah.
so there's really that people like to blame the president or whoever
Yeah.
the president is in time. Right now they're blaming Biden, but it could be almost any president. This is actually some of our better presidents. The price went up,
Yeah.
and the little they could do about it. And then of
Yeah. I
course how
mean.
well this like I said, I figured out there was plenty of gas around.
Yeah.
The electric car is actually getting some sort of now people say, "Oh, maybe they should all be electric." Or, yeah, maybe they should be.
Yeah.
Make the richest man in the world even richer, Elon
Yeah.
Musk.
Yeah.
But someone said the reason why this is about 10 years ago was believed. How come electric cars never took off? Never took off. And the reason why was they said the oil companies and the factories and all this stuff is not going to take it seriously until the last gallon of oil is dredged out of the earth, which may be a while. We're going to have to be
Yeah.
happy with some electric cars and mostly gas cars.
Mhm.
But we're using all these.
Yeah.
People were talking even during the Nixon era
Yeah.
about switching to electricity and getting off of coal, getting
Yeah.
off of oil, getting off of use the sun. There's the
Right.
sun that gives us plenty of energy. There's the
Right.
center of the
Yeah.
earth that causes the center of the earth is just this ball
Yes.
ball of
Yeah.
of lava and magma.
Yes. That's why.
We could use all that stuff.
Yeah. That's why sometimes, like, when when people give you a ride and stuff, like if you
Mm.
need to ride somewhere, I would offer them gas.
Yeah.
Like, do you need gas money?
In fact, that's the only thing people say, do you have any, I'm not a man who spends a lot of money. They said, do you have any luxuries? I said, yeah, gasoline. That's my luxury. Used to be diamonds and gold. Now now it's gasoline. I get further on gasoline than I do on any diamonds and gold.
Yeah.
And have you figured out other ways to save money in this?
Yeah. I like just I I'll go somewhere by myself like once a week or something.
And do what?
But and
Look out the window?
maybe go to Crossroads or somewhere like that. Get a cup of coffee.
That doesn't
Or
sound like you're saving money.
well, I mean,
What, a $7 cup
no,
of
no,
coffee?
I'm talking about like I always just get out of the house if I have to. Like
Yeah.
if I go to rehearsal,
Hmm.
or if I want to go out and get a cup of coffee.
Well, I mean, how are you saving money in, is there any way you're saving money? That you didn't normally do before because the inflation is so high.
Yeah, I just kind of
I'm
like
always saving. I'm always thinking of ways to save money.
yeah. I just kind of like like once a month I would like think about if I could save a couple $100 the next month. Like think about it in my head. You know.
I'll pay you Tuesday
Yeah.
for a hamburger today,
Yeah.
said Wimpy.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'll tell you what, how I
That
do it.
that's how I save my money. I just put it in my head.
Yeah.
Say how much money I could spend.
The
Like
first thing I save is clothes. I'm always buying clothes.
yeah.
And I hate
Me
spending a lot
too.
of money on clothes.
Yeah.
So, you go. Let me tell you what I did last week. You're gonna love this. I went to a store and they had Levi's blue jeans
For $10.
for $10.
That's a good deal.
But there was a catch to it. There's
Hmm.
always a catch when you pay $10 for blue jeans. A lot of them were ugly blue jeans with tears all in them. I mean, tears on purpose.
Yeah.
But you say, oh, yeah, but they're still $10. Maybe I could sew up the tears. Or maybe they were weather beaten or acid washed. Who wants to wear those? I like to break in a pair of blue jeans in my own. So I want them as blue as possible before they turn light blue and white.
Yeah.
So these and also, but actually there was even more to it than that. The sizes were really weird.
Wow.
The sizes were less than 30, like 29, 28 inch, you know. A lot of them didn't have zippers. They had buttons instead. A lot of people say, I don't want pants with buttons. But, for $10, you say, oh, well,
Right.
I'll deal with that. The
Yeah.
other thing was, I tell you what I really like is black denim
Mhm.
because when like Wrangler jeans are part of Levi's
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they have a lot of black denim, and black denim, if they're black enough, you could wear them with a tie and a sport coat, and people think you're wearing dress pants. And that's what
That's
I
a
do.
smart
It isn't
idea.
until in fact, right now, I think actually I'm actually wearing
Yeah.
wearing Wrangler black denim
That's
trousers
a
and
smart
motorcycle
idea, though.
boots.
That's a smart idea, though.
Yeah.
If you have no way to even go to the store and get black pants, or if you can't find black pants around your house,
Yeah.
you just put on plain black jeans.
Black jeans. You have any black jeans?
I used to at one point, but I
Yeah.
don't think I have any anymore. But I do have the black leggings and
Yeah,
black
okay.
twisty pants.
Black, I think you know who we're talking about. I'm not going to mention his name, but there was a guy he was wearing what I thought were really tight black pants at a rehearsal, and then I looked closely. Wait a minute, they're stockings he's wearing. He's wearing leggings. You don't think of a man wearing leggings.
Yeah,
And we actually have friends in the theater that actually wear.
yeah.
They look like tight black pants, but they're actually basically just pantyhose. I'm not even sure they have pockets. I always need pockets in my pants.
Was this recently that you saw
Yeah.
somebody wear?
Yes.
I think I
Yeah.
might know him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look good
Yeah.
in them.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
wear, the Liza Minnelli look, you wear a jacket and
Yeah.
black leggings, and you look like
Yeah.
you're ready to, and a hat, and you
Yeah.
look like Liza, ready to
Yeah.
go. Wish I
Yeah.
could dance like Liza.
Yeah.
Though I saw Liza at the Oscars, and she was in a wheelchair.
Yeah,
It was
I
sad.
know, it was terrible.
But
She was
that
with Lady
she was with Lady
Gaga.
Gaga.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And I saw that part, and I
yeah.
saw
That was the end of it. Yeah.
and I saw the really sad part when Will Smith came to punch Chris Rock in the
Yeah, they're
face.
still talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found out something funny about Will Smith that he turned down the part in Django Unchained, the Quentin
Uh-huh.
Tarantino film with Jamie
Yeah.
Foxx,
Yeah.
because he says he didn't like violence and he thought violence was a terrible way to the end that movie because there's a lot of violence in it. And I said, wait a minute, this is a guy who actually hit a guy in public, most public slap heard around the world. So.
Wow. You probably felt even bad or felt embarrassed. That's probably why he turned down that role in that movie,
That
probably.
is why you should always, if you're mad about something, especially if you're a public figure, and especially if it's a public event,
Yeah.
count to 10. He should have sicked his bodyguards on the guy
Yeah.
and that's I didn't have anything to do with
Right.
that.
I'd be like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
Keep it cool.
I'm very slow to the anger. People usually where I go are very nice to me.
Yeah, me
And
too.
and if they make me mad, then I start to try to
Oh
be
yeah.
empathetic, try to say, well, why are they upset with me? What did I do? Or why are they upset in period? Maybe I'm just catching on a bad day or something. But I'm not kidding you. I know people that, you know who they act like?
Who?
They act like the grown-up versions of the kids in the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory movie.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, I can see he used to be Augustus Gloop, or he used to be Violet Beauregard.
I want to
I want it
know.
now. Oh man, I mean, and I actually had to lecture someone recently that I actually said, "You're like the grown-up Augustus Gloop from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory."
Yeah,
Being a brat was not cute on a kid, and it's even less cute on an adult.
I know. Exactly.
So I had to admonish somebody
Right.
recently.
Yes.
I hate
Yes.
having to admonish somebody
I know. It's
as
like,
if they were a child, as if you have to have the meat out of your hand and say, "This is you're only going to
yeah,
get a piece of sugar if you're
yeah,
good."
yeah,
Why do you treat me like a child? I said,
yeah.
"You might be a grown-up person, but you act like a child."
Right.
And believe it or not, I
Exactly.
know quite a few people like that. Sometimes in your own family,
Yeah.
sometimes, in fact, especially in your own family, because your family, there's no, you're not gonna, your brother or your sister, you're not gonna like quit them being your brother or sister
Right.
or cousin because they're acting like a brat. So. Sometimes people will act that way, and then they'll say, uh, "This is uh, this is who I am. This is who I am."
Yeah.
And you say, "You are what you are, evidently. I
Yeah.
am what I am."
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
But
What
that,
I
that
am.
you're. I once had to tell a cousin of mine once. I got so mad at her for acting like a brat. I actually said to her, it's a damn good thing you're my cousin and I'm my girlfriend because I'd never put up with that junk from my girlfriend. But because you're my cousin, of course, by the time you yell at certain people,
Yeah.
they don't even listen to you about it. I said I want my golden ticket. I tell you where you get that a lot. Sometimes at work, you have your computer doesn't work so
Yeah.
well. Okay, and so you go to the help desk
Yeah.
or the tech support or whatever it is, and
Right.
they always treat you like a child. They always says, "Don't you know how to do it?" I'm not kidding you. I once was doing some help. I usually try to help people on their
Mhm.
computers if I know. I don't know a whole lot, but I know some things. And I once did the copy and paste thing. And I showed it, and I said, "Okay, well, the first thing you do is you copy and paste, and then you do this, and then you wait a minute, what was that?
Mm.
Copy and paste?"
Mm.
And the person was like my age, never heard of copy and paste before, and
Right.
did not know you could actually,
Right.
do that.
Right.
And I said, you didn't know that? I mean, I didn't want to, make fun of them, but
Yeah.
I said, I actually tried to put a spin on it. I said, this is the greatest thing ever on a computer. You don't ever have to type everything out again or make a
Yeah.
copy of
Yeah.
it. I mean, you make a copy of it so easily,
Right. Right.
And so but you have these help desk people at work,
Yeah.
okay, and they always, try to belittle you
Right.
that what you
Right.
don't know. And I, but sometimes the tech support is always wrong. Sometimes it's always breaking down. Sometimes the internet is always down. Your
Yeah.
your computers are down. Sometimes a virus.
Yeah.
And one day I got so mad at work, at the help desk, that I said, "Who runs your company? Willy Wonka? Everything I push, something goes wrong. It's always breaking down." I said, "One of these days I'm going to push the wrong button. I'm going to turn into a giant blueberry." So anyway, but people are learning so little
Yeah.
about
Right.
things like for example, I'll write a handwritten note to somebody, and perhaps you could tell me, and people will say, "What's this scribble?" I said, "It's my handwriting," and I'm not saying my handwriting is great,
Yeah. Yeah.
but and it's not.
Yeah. But it's a cursive.
Cursive writing.
Yeah.
There are people younger than me that have never learned cursive.
I know. I've learned cursive since I was in third grade.
Third grade is usually when you learn it,
Yeah.
or in the day.
Exactly. Yes.
But I get the idea they skip it because some people say they barely. But learning cursive is very important because it's almost like your fingerprint.
Yeah.
As they teach you cursive in or real writing, as we call it.
Yeah.
They taught us this. Um, Everyone learned it like
Yeah.
in a cookie cutter way, so you
Yeah.
could be. But now you don't have to do it with typing, and
Right.
everything's printed now. Now when people have to write a note, they
Yeah.
print everything.
Yeah. I like writing in cursive because it's kind of like my celebrity signature.
Yes.
So,
I mean,
right.
if you asked The Rock or Hugh Jackman for an autograph and he
Yeah.
just prints his name, what good is
I know. What good is that?
that?
You know.
You want to see now?
Right.
Doctors famously have terrible handwriting, and
Hmm.
doctors are like everyone thinks is the most educated people.
Right.
And I was told this because I had terrible handwriting. that the smartest people have the worst handwriting. I said, oh yeah, of course,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of people said, no, that's what smart people like to think.
Yeah.
A smart person has good
Yeah.
handwriting.
Yeah.
It's only lazy people like you who have terrible handwriting
Yeah.
and then pretend you're smart.
The only thing I use for cursive is my signature.
Well, that's basically how it's getting. That the only time people use even a pen. I mean, it used to be you
Yeah.
had a nice pen. You couldn't wait when you were in first or second grade to
Right.
be able to use cursive or use a pen. You had to use those big pencils,
Hmm.
that were big like this thick, and you
Yeah.
would write
Yeah.
and with the big eraser on them. And then you got to use a pen and use cursive. But the teacher used to give me a lot of stick when I was in fourth grade
Hmm.
because of my penmanship. And um, and I like to think I was a good kid. I talked a lot in class, but evidently the teacher really had my number.
Right. Right.
She invited like three kids' mothers on parent teacher day to have individual. All the other kids, forget about the other 20 or so kids, 25 kids, but three. Now the other two kids were like criminals in training.
Yeah.
They were like vandals. They were the worst kids. And I lumped? Why was I lumped with the other two kids?
Yeah.
So we saw the I went with my mother to on my fourth grade parent teacher. I was in the hallway waiting, and I don't think any of the other two kids were, but their mothers showed up, and the mothers were all smoking cigarettes and real scary looking women.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eating fast food,
Wow.
all this stuff. My mother was very prim and proper. So And my mother wanted to know what the teacher had against me.
Yeah.
Was I just like these other kids, these crooks?
Yeah.
So then she had an accent. I think she was from South Africa. It kind of tells it all. Probably wishes there was still apartheid. So she was a scary woman with a accent, and she said, "Ma'am, your son has the most atrocious handwriting. I try to teach him. I don't know if he's learning or he's lazy or he doesn't care, but I cannot read anything he writes." I think my mother said, "Well, very smart people, as she heard the same thing, very smart people." And she goes, "That's no excuse. He learns like everybody else." I think one day off, there was one cursive letter that was really weird. It was Q, which they made look like a two,
Yeah.
but I just made look like a printed Q with the zero with
Yeah.
the O and the line at the bottom
Yeah.
of it,
Yeah.
a diagonal line. And he makes his Q's terrible, and we can't. And I don't know if it's an A or an O or She went on. I'm not kidding you. She talked to my mother for like 20 minutes
Wow.
out of a half hour conference, just talking about how terrible my handwriting. About 15 minutes into this 20 minutes, my mother said, "Does this woman have a life? Why is she complaining about my son's handwriting so bad?" And she actually eventually said, um, "How many brats do you have? Because I understand your son is the oldest. So how many brats do?" And I said, "Brats." She said she called my family brats, and my mother was actually kind of terrified of this woman at this point. "Huh, I have four other kids." Oh, and she was just groan. "Oh gosh, I'm going to have to deal with these four kids, all with terrible handwriting." And it also is a reflection of my mother. Of course, my mother yelled at me the whole time driving. I had to take time out of my busy schedule. This woman doesn't care. The other kids' parents didn't care, and certainly, and then you drag me down to deal with this. Well, oh gosh, it's one of my lowest points as a. And so anyway, but my mother was still, I thought, she
Yeah.
thought I was going to be a criminal, bad handwriting.
Yeah.
Years later, I think I've mentioned this before. I saw a very famous writer and the guy on the news. His name is George Will, who writes all these books about baseball and
Yeah.
about politics and all. And he's a very smart guy. And I met him and I asked for his autograph and he signed it and you could not read that it was George Will.
Wow.
So I said, "Oh, I'm vindicated. The smartest man
Oh,
in
wow.
in politics. You can't read
Wow.
his
Yeah.
handwriting." Donald Trump, you can't read his signature.
Yeah.
A lot of famous people, though, when they sign autographs, they have to sign a lot of them, so they don't even really just sign anything, they just
Yeah.
scribble something. So, but I remember once getting an autograph of Jack Lemmon, and when I was on a film with him, and and then they had something where he autographed a program that was up for auction or something
Yeah.
in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So I matched up my signature to his signature. Oh, it's the same signature. I mean, it actually looked the same. He kept it consistent. So anyway, baseball cards. I used to get a lot of baseball players' signatures, and uh, and then I get the baseball card and I try to match up, see if it was the real signature.
Yeah.
I mean, they're usually printed
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
The coolest thing I got, and I still have it somewhere in my files, was when people were still signing stuff in a big way.
Yeah.
I was working in law. You could actually get. I was working for a law firm, and you could actually get. Your boss would pay for this, and I said I really want one of these things where they get your signature and make a ink pad with
Oh,
it,
yeah.
and you could just stamp things with your
Oh,
signature.
yeah.
And not because I needed it, I just wanted it.
One of my former ministers had one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes no sense at all because
Yeah.
it's just
I'd
as easy to
rather
sign your own.
I'd rather just do my own
I
stuff.
know.
I mean, it's not one of the things you just have it to save it. There you go.
There used to be,
Yeah.
I'll tell you something else about signatures, was there used to be a time when you used to use blue ink. You
Yeah.
always used blue ink. And they said, "Why are you using blue ink? Why not black ink?" Because you could use black ink, but blue ink it used to be that it could be a photocopy, a Xerox copy,
Yeah.
and Xerox in those days were always black. So if you used blue, they would know that it was a real a signature with a pen
Yeah.
of whatever you got a signature of, especially if it was an important document like a contract or
Yeah.
an insurance policy or something. But what was weird about that was um, then eventually they invented color printing, so it didn't matter whether it was blue, green, or red or
Right.
whatever.
Right.
I was always told never to use red ink because
Mm.
red ink is I guess sort of unlucky because red ink means that there's usually when there's red ink means there's a debt has to be paid. It's
Oh, okay.
uh
Right.
like but if it's black ink,
Yeah.
that means it's good. That's why when they say you're in the black,
Yeah.
that means you don't owe any money. In fact, you're going to get some money back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that's where the phrase comes from. How about that?
Okay.
And so do you have any stories about penmanship?
Um.
I think it's the biggest waste of grading a paper because in fact, they'd say
Yeah.
A for you're being smart,
Yeah.
D or F for penmanship, and then it balances out to a C. And my mother would say, What's the C all about?"
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, yeah. Well, when I got C's on my homework or whatever, sometimes, like a C or a D.
Yeah,
They're still pass. They were still passing back
yeah.
then, and they were better than enough.
Hey, it gets better than F.
Yeah. I mean, at least I passed.
Was the old joke where the kid gets a zero on his paper,
Yeah.
and the teacher says, and the parent, the mother says, "What's this zero you got on your test?" He says, "Oh, I could explain that.
Yeah.
The teacher was giving out stars for good papers,
Yeah.
and she ran out of stars when she got to me, so she put a moon instead." Oh yeah, like your parents were
Okay.
buy
Yeah.
all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I mean, did you have a problem with penmanship? Did your parents complain about your
Oh
pen?
yeah. Yeah. Sometimes like I have gotten those in the past when I
Yeah.
was like in
For
seventh grade.
penmanship?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Now they don't even grade it anymore. It's not even a subject. Now what happened?
actually it was during even math or science,
Hmm.
and every time I would get like there's like report cards that you used to get, and the teachers like sign them, like put the grade on and sign them. They're called interims back then.
Yeah.
Interims, and then you get your regular report card after it. So, but when the interims they put like an F, and then they circle the F.
Yes.
I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Like the F wasn't bad enough. They have to circle it.
Yeah,
Like if you got an F minus. I
yeah,
mean, how is that any worse than a F?
yeah. I know.
You've already failed.
But if I got like a C or a D,
Hmm.
that's better than nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, at least you passed.
At least you showed up.
Yeah,
Basically, you sign your name, you get a D.
yeah. But I have gotten A's and B's before too.
Yeah.
So
What was
I've
your best
gotten
subject?
my best subject was
Oh, okay.
reading,
Mhm.
um, keyboarding.
Keyboard.
Yeah,
What's
and
that?
it's like you learn how to type on the computer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was thinking of music for some reason,
there is
like a Moog synthesizer or
yeah.
something.
I wish it would have been, but
Well, I'll tell you how it works.
but chorus was my number one though.
Yeah,
Chorus because I love to sing.
I
So
did pretty well on almost every subject in grade school and
yeah,
even high school to some extent. But college,
yeah,
I was a math
hmm,
and I was pretty good in math before I went to college,
yeah.
and science before I went to
I
college,
was
and then I went to go ahead.
I was terrible at math.
Yeah, well, what happened was once I got
I
to
was good.
college,
I was good at adding and subtraction
yeah.
and multiplying a little bit, but not like division or algebra or anything like that.
How about fractions?
I used to do those years ago too,
But I
but
mean, were you good at those? Or was
not
that
really. It was
were
kind
you
of
good at
hard.
geometry?
No.
Geometry was very abstract, planes and triangles and yes, things that really didn't make a whole lot. Only reason why you learn those things
Mhm.
is that they actually say you're not going to use algebra or geometry in your real world, unless you're a mathematician,
Yeah.
is that the only thing you learn is that it actually uses a part of your brain that you learn more
Yeah.
using it. So I was good at that stuff, but then when I got to college, I think I was taking calculus and I was just
Oh
dismally
lordy. Oh,
terrible at that.
oh
That was almost
lordy.
like learning another language, like Sanskrit or
Oh
hieroglyphics
Lord.
or,
Oh
or
Lord.
Swahili or something that was totally different,
Oh
or with a
Lord.
different alphabet and everything. So I wasn't very good at. But in high school, I was pretty good at stuff. Let me tell you about me getting into college. Um, how did it work out? My teachers or my guidance counselor typed up this thing about what a good student I was, and every time that happened, I got into the college. All right, the colleges that I applied for about four, except for one. The one I filled out, I didn't get into, and
Mm.
the reason why I didn't get into it was was I didn't know how to type, so I printed everything, and I just
Oh.
told you the long story about
Yeah.
what a terrible
Yeah.
writer
Yeah.
of any sort I was,
Yeah.
and probably they couldn't read what I was writing, even though everything and I don't think it was any different than what I put in the others. So
Wow.
I did not get into that college. But in retrospect, the college I did go into, I can't imagine University of Virginia. I couldn't imagine
Yeah.
going to any other college that I did go into.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so it all, as they say, it all works out in the best,
Right.
you know.
I did apply for John Tyler years ago. I
Um,
dropped out of high school. But you had to take like this entrance test or whatever it is.
yeah,
But I didn't get in it because I wasn't that good at the test.
yeah.
So I
Well,
failed it.
what were the questions about? Math?
They had math questions, they had, I think, just questions in general, I
Yeah.
guess.
I uh, I tell you how what's kind of weird
Yeah,
was that I just told you about the
yeah.
entrance getting in there. I didn't take I took the SATs and I did all right on
Mhm.
those. And but I was very good in high school. I was in a lot of clubs and I also
So I
made
was
pretty
pretty
good
good.
grades.
I was pretty good in high school
Yeah,
because I was successful in chorus
yeah.
because I got to have solos and all that good stuff. So
I found out at UVA they really wanted you to in high school to be in clubs and everything. But
yeah,
then when I talked to other kids in high school, no, in college, how well I did in high school. Some kids were like brilliant. Almost all of them were like
wow,
valedictorians. I wasn't a
wow.
valedictorian.
No, me neither.
But they said,
Yeah,
and in fact, one guy actually said, "How the hell did you ever get into this college?"
right.
And I'm not even sure that guy graduated, but I graduated. So
Yeah.
evidently, it all worked out.
Well, the main thing about me was I graduated from high school.
Yes.
That's the main thing. I was successful with that. So
Yeah.
even though I didn't go to college, I was smart anyway.
I went to a high school graduation. One of my nephews got graduated from high
Yeah,
school last
yeah,
week. It
yeah.
was the first high school graduation
Yeah.
I've seen in like
Okay.
maybe 20 years or so.
Yeah.
And my sister's son, and she was sitting beside me, and she says, "Now they're gonna the principal who hands out the diploma says and there's like 500 kids. They said always keep your applause for the till the end of the show, all right? And and they said do not shout out names or cheers every time a kid." And so my sister, follows the rules and everything,
Yeah.
and then they announce my nephew's name, and then I go, "Ho!" And my sister says, "Only low class people do that." I said, "Let me tell you something. When I graduated from high school or college, I wanted people to yell, to
Yeah,
scream and
me
yell when my
too.
name was, and everybody does.
Yes.
To deny a kid that, what's weird is I think it was on tape. So when the name is called out, because I'm right beside her on her, while she's videotaping on her phone, you
Yeah.
hear me, "Oh!" But I'm sure my nephew was happy that
Yeah.
I called out,
Yeah.
called him out, and my oh God, I could tell you a whole bunch about high school graduations. Uh, yeah, my college graduation, Chuck Robb, who was the governor of Virginia, was the speaker, and it
Okay.
rained so hard that I didn't hear any of the speech. I was just because you're not under a canopy. You're
Yeah.
outside
Yeah.
on the lawn in Charlottesville
Yeah.
when it came. So this is the first high school graduation I'd been in. I think I've been to one since my own, but this was the first one because the pandemic. A few
Yeah.
other people in my family did not
Yeah.
have them. So
Yeah.
so um so we uh s- so yeah. Luckily they kept it going pretty well.
Yeah.
We had my one of my other nephews was sitting beside me. He goes, "That's our principal. Everyone loves our principal." And I said, I wasn't too crazy about my principal. I guess that was stemmed from being in his office so often. And it's always for simple stuff. It wasn't like I was this criminal or this delinquent. It was like I
Yeah.
mentioned earlier. It was because I was always talking in class, always being sent.
I always thought why they that position is called principal. You know why?
What?
Because it has the word prince in it.
Prince. He thinks he's the principal. He thinks he's the prince. I always see people
Oh
misspell
Lord
the word
Jesus.
principal, but always remember the principal is your pal,
Yeah.
P-A-L. The
Yeah.
way I say it, the principal is not your pal, P-A-L, but you can remember it that way. The principal. I even say this when
Oh my
I say
God.
this at work all the time. I say, when the boss calls me into the office and all and tells me what I'm doing wrong, and they're always telling you what you're doing wrong. I say, I feel like I'm in the principal's office. It's hard to
Yeah.
believe a
What that funny?
45-year-old man like myself would be in the principal's office.
What that funny thing when I just told you?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I
Yeah.
thought they call it the principal because he's a prince.
Oh, I tell you what a teacher told me. It was like my age. I said,
Yeah.
"What's it like being a teacher in the principal's office?" And he said, "Well, it's a little different, but not a whole lot different." I said, "Well, how's it different?" He goes, "Well, the principal, you always think of as this great, important person.
Yeah.
When you work with him, rather than being a student, you think of him. You call him by his first name or her first name. Hey, Bill. Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
John, Johnny. But then once a kid walks by, whoa, Mr. Doohickey. Oh, Mr. Vanderhoozy. Mrs. Van. And you have to be. But they said, but the one thing that doesn't change is that they still think of themselves as this big shot. And he said, "Well, what's it like going to the principal's office?" He says, "Well, when you're a little kid and even when you're a teacher starting out, you think of him as the Wizard of Oz, that he's this big head with fire going on. And they want you to think that. But when they're a teacher, you realize they're not really that big head with all the
I
fire going up.
know. I
They're
know.
that man behind the curtain who has no powers at all,
Uh-huh.
other than firing you.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for having me. We
No
have more of this
problem.
show coming
Yes.
up.
Yes. So we're gonna take a little break and we will get back to you as soon as we're possible. God bless.